Core Prime was the heart of the Korath Empire. 1,000 worlds bowed to its rule. Billions of beings lived under its shadow. Its ships patrolled every trade route. Its soldiers guarded every colony. Its laws governed every corner of Korath space. And the planet itself was the most heavily defended in the galaxy. Hundreds of warships circled it constantly, watching for threats. Planetary defenses covered every approach, ready to destroy anything that came too close. Sensors scanned every inch of space, looking for enemies that never appeared. No enemy had ever come close to Core Prime. No ship had ever breached its defenses. No one had ever tried. The Korath believed they were untouchable. Emperor Varthan sat on his throne, surrounded by advisors and guards. He was old, his face lined with centuries of rule. But his eyes were sharp, his voice strong. He had led the empire through wars and conquests, through victories and celebrations. He had never known defeat. Our capital is untouchable, he told his advisors. No ship can reach us without being detected. No weapon can penetrate our defenses. We are safe. His advisors nodded and smiled. They had heard this many times. They believed it as much as he did. Why would anyone try? One asked. Our power is absolute. Our might is unquestioned. Only a fool would attack us. The emperor laughed. Fools do not live long in this galaxy. They all laughed together, comfortable in their certainty. Humans were not even on their list of concerns. They were a new species, barely worth noticing. A few colonies scattered on the edge of explored space. A small fleet of simple ships. No real power, no real threat, no real reason to pay attention. The Korath had conquered 1,000 worlds. Humans had a handful. The Korath had ruled for 10,000 years. Humans had been in space for a few centuries. The comparison was absurd. Humans were nothing. Then a patrol ship encountered a human vessel near the edge of Korath space. It was a small ship, unarmed, clearly lost. The human captain apologized immediately, claiming a navigation error, promising to leave at once. The Korath patrol commander laughed and let them go. Stupid humans, he said. Can't even find their way home. He reported the incident, and no one thought about it again. Why would they? Humans were harmless. Humans were nothing. What the Korath did not know was simple. The human ship was not lost. It was testing. Testing how close it could get before being detected. Testing how the Korath sensors worked. Testing how their patrols responded. Gathering data. Preparing. The captain smiled as his ship left Korath space. He had learned everything he needed to know. He sent a single message on a secure channel. They are exactly as arrogant as we hoped. Their defenses have holes. Their sensors have blind spots. We can get through. The response came quickly. Understood. Begin preparation. We will be ready. On Core Prime, life continued peacefully. Ships moved in their endless patrols. Defenses watched their empty space. The Emperor celebrated his power. The people enjoyed their safety. No one watched the empty space where nothing ever appeared. No one suspected that somewhere in the darkness, humans were preparing. No one knew that soon, everything would change. The calm before the storm was almost over. On Core Prime, it was an ordinary morning. Ships moved in their endless patrols, circling the planet like mechanical moons. People went to work in the capital city, filling the streets with their daily routines. The Emperor held court in his palace, hearing petitions and issuing decrees. Nothing unusual. Nothing unexpected. Just another day in the most secure place in the galaxy. Then every sensor on the planet screamed at once. The noise was deafening. Alarms blared in every military installation, every defense station, every patrol ship. Red lights flashed on every screen. Warning signals echoed through every corridor. Military commanders ran to their stations, hearts pounding, minds racing. What was happening? An attack? A meteor? A system failure? Then they saw the readings. An object had appeared in the heart of their space, right in the middle of their defense grid, right above the capital city, right where nothing should be. How? A commander whispered. How did it get through? No one had an answer. The defenses were impenetrable. The sensors were perfect. Nothing could get through without being detected. Nothing. But something was there. On every screen, the image appeared. A ship. Massive. Dark. Unlike anything in their databases. It hung in space directly above the Imperial Palace, silent and waiting. Its hull was angular and strange, covered in details they could not identify. It made no move to attack. It just floated there, watching. What is it? someone asked. Whose is it? A technician worked frantically, comparing the image to every ship design in their records. Finally, she found a match. Humans, she whispered. It is a human ship. The room went silent. Humans? The species with a few colonies and a small fleet? The species everyone ignored? The species that was barely worth noticing? How could a human ship be here? How could it bypass every defense, every sensor, every patrol? How could it appear from nowhere right above the Imperial Palace? No one had answers. Only questions. Only fear. In the palace, Emperor Varthan was rushed to a bunker. Guards surrounded him, their faces pale, their hands shaking. They had trained for emergencies, but not this. No one had trained for this. What is happening? The Emperor demanded. What is that ship? No one could tell him. They only knew that their defenses had failed. Their security was broken. Their capital was vulnerable. For the first time in 10,000 years, the heart of the Korath Empire was not safe. In orbit, Korath ships scrambled to respond. They moved toward the human vessel, weapons ready, formations tight. But they hesitated. The ship was massive, clearly a warship, and it had appeared from nowhere. What else could it do? Commanders shouted orders. Crews prepared for battle. But no one knew what to do. This had never happened before. No one had ever breached their defenses. The human ship just hung there, silent and waiting. Watching. And somewhere on that ship, a human captain smiled. The first step was complete. Korath ships surrounded the human vessel. Hundreds of warships, the pride of the Empire, formed a sphere around the intruder. Their weapons were charged, their crews ready, their commanders shouting orders. But no one fired. They hesitated. The ship was massive, clearly a warship, and it had appeared from nowhere. What else could it do? What other surprises did it hold? The human ship just hung there, silent and waiting. Then a transmission came through on all channels. A human face appeared on every screen in the fleet, every screen on the planet below, every screen in the Empire. Calm. Steady. Unafraid. This is Captain Elias Vance of the Earth warship Indomitable. His voice was quiet but carried absolute authority. We have come to deliver a message. The Emperor watched from his bunker, surrounded by guards and advisors. His hands gripped his throne, knuckles white. Vance continued. Your empire has been expanding for centuries. You have conquered 1,000 worlds. You have enslaved millions. You have destroyed civilizations that refused to bow. He paused. You have ignored every warning, every plea, every attempt at peace. You believed your power made you untouchable. The Korath commanders listened, frozen. Today, we are showing you the truth. Vance's eyes were cold. Your defenses mean nothing. Your security is an illusion. Your power is not what you think. On the bridge of every Korath ship, officers exchanged confused glances. What did he mean? Then they found out. The human ship moved slightly. Just a small adjustment, a tiny shift in position. But in that moment, every Korath ship in range lost power. Weapons went dark. Engines died. Life support flickered. Communications fell silent. For 10 seconds, the mighty Korath fleet was completely helpless. Then, as suddenly as it stopped, power returned. Systems rebooted. Weapons came back online. Everything returned to normal. 10 seconds. That was all it took. In 10 seconds, the humans had demonstrated that they could disable the entire fleet whenever they wanted. In 10 seconds, they had proven that every defense, every weapon, every ship was useless against them. In 10 seconds, they had shown that they could have destroyed everything. And they chose not to. On the bridge of his flagship, a Korath admiral stared at his screens, unable to speak. His crew looked at him, faces pale, eyes wide with terror. No one knew what to do. No one had ever faced anything like this. The human ship still hung there, silent and waiting. Vance's voice came through again. That was a demonstration. A warning. Next time, we will not be so gentle. The transmission ended. The Korath fleet sat in silence, surrounded by a single human ship that had just proven it could destroy them all. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the Korath Empire knew fear. The Emperor sat in his bunker, surrounded by guards and advisors. His hands still shook. His heart still pounded. The 10 seconds of helplessness had shattered everything he believed about his empire, his power, his safety. He had to understand. Open a channel, he commanded. I want to speak with the human captain. His officers hesitated. Was it safe? Could they trust the humans? Do it, the Emperor ordered. A channel was opened. The human's face appeared on the screen. Captain Elias Vance looked calm, almost relaxed. He sat on the bridge of his ship, surrounded by his crew, as if this was just another ordinary day. The Emperor spoke first. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. How? Vance raised an eyebrow. How what? How did you get through our defenses? How did you appear from nowhere? Our senses are the best in the galaxy. Nothing can hide from them. Nothing can bypass them. Vance nodded slowly. Your senses are very good, for detecting what they are designed to detect. The Emperor frowned. What does that mean? Vance leaned forward slightly. Your defenses watch for ships approaching from outside. They scan the edges of your space, the approaches to your planet. They track objects moving through your territory. He paused. What they do not watch is the space between the space. The Emperor shook his head. I do not understand. Vance explained. We have developed a way to fold space itself. To take 2 points that are far apart and bring them together. To move from one place to another without crossing the distance between. He gestured, and a diagram appeared on the screen. 2 dots, far apart. Then the space between them folded, bringing them together. Your senses cannot detect what does not travel through your space. We did not fly here. We did not sneak here. We simply arrived. The Emperor stared at the diagram, trying to understand. So you could appear anywhere. Anywhere in our space. Vance smiled. A cold, knowing smile. Anywhere. Right above your palace. Right inside your throne room. Right next to your bed while you slept. He let the words sink in. We chose to appear above your capital, in full view of your fleet, to deliver a message. But we could have appeared anywhere. We could have appeared everywhere. The Emperor felt the blood drain from his face. No place in his empire was safe. No defense could stop them. No wall could keep them out. They could appear in his bedroom while he slept. They could appear in the heart of his most secure facility. They could appear anywhere, anytime, and there was nothing he could do to prevent it. All his power, all his conquests, all his centuries of rule meant nothing. The humans could end him whenever they chose. Vance watched the realization dawn on the Emperor's face. Do you understand now? He asked quietly. The Emperor nodded slowly. I understand. Good, Vance said. Then we can talk about what happens next. The screen went dark, leaving the Emperor alone with his thoughts and his fear. The most powerful being in the galaxy had just learned the truth. He was not powerful at all. The channel reopened. Captain Vance's face appeared again on the Emperor's screen. Calm, patient, waiting. The Emperor sat in his bunker, surrounded by terrified advisors and nervous guards. He had never felt so small in his entire life. Vance spoke first. We did not come to destroy you, Emperor. The Emperor looked up, confused. Then why? Why show us this? Why prove you can destroy us if you do not intend to? Vance smiled slightly. We came to show you what we can do. We came to prove that your power means nothing against us. We came to deliver a message. The Emperor waited. Here are our terms, Vance continued. Simple. Clear. Not negotiable. He counted on his fingers. First, you will stop expanding. No more conquests. No more taking worlds that do not belong to you. Second, you will free the worlds you have conquered. Every species you have enslaved will be released. They will govern themselves as they choose. Third, you will treat other species with respect. No more bullying. No more threats. No more arrogance. The Emperor stared at the screen. If you agree to these terms, we will leave you in peace. We will not return. We will not interfere in your affairs. You will govern your own worlds, live your own lives, rule your own people. Vance paused. If you refuse. His eyes hardened. We will return. Not one ship. Many. And we will not appear above your palace. He let the words hang in the air. We will appear inside it. The Emperor looked at his advisors. Terrified faces. Shaking hands. Eyes that begged him to make the right choice. He looked at the screens showing the human ship still hanging above his world. Silent. Patient. Waiting. He had no choice. There was only one path forward. We accept your terms, he whispered. His voice cracked. We will do as you ask. Vance nodded slowly. A wise decision, Emperor. Your people will thank you for it. The human ship moved slightly. Then, in an instant, it was gone. No flash of light. No ripple in space. No warning. 1 second it was there. The next, nothing. Empty space where a warship had been. The Emperor stared at the empty screen. At the place where the ship had been. At the proof that humans could come and go as they pleased, and no one could stop them. He sat in silence for a long time. Years passed. The Korath Empire changed. It was difficult at first. Generals protested. Advisors complained. But the Emperor remembered that ship, that moment, that lesson. Conquered worlds were freed. Slaves were released. Species that had lived under Korath rule for centuries suddenly governed themselves. Some chose to stay friendly with the Empire. Others left and never looked back. Both choices were respected. The Emperor grew old. His hair turned white. His steps slowed. But his mind remained sharp, and his memory remained clear. One day, his young grandson sat with him, looking at the stars. "Grandfather," the boy asked, "why did we stop conquering? We were the most powerful empire in the galaxy. We could have taken anything we wanted." The Emperor looked at the sky, at the empty space where, years ago, a ship had appeared from nowhere. "Because power is not what we thought, child," he said quietly. The boy frowned. "What do you mean?" The Emperor put his arm around his grandson. "We thought power meant taking things, conquering worlds, enslaving others, making everyone afraid of us. We thought that made us strong." He paused. "But true power is something else. True power is knowing when to stop. True power is choosing peace when you could choose war. True power is respecting others, not because you fear them, but because it is right." The boy thought about this. "Did the humans teach you that?" The Emperor smiled sadly. "Yes. They taught us that our defenses meant nothing, that our power was an illusion, that we were not as strong as we thought." He looked at the stars. "But they also taught us something more important. They taught us that strength is not about what you can take. It is about what you can choose not to take." The boy nodded slowly, not fully understanding but knowing he would remember this conversation for the rest of his life. Somewhere in the darkness, the Indomitable continued its patrol. Watching. Waiting. Ready to appear wherever it was needed. Ready to remind the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. But hoping, always hoping, that it would never have to. Because true power was not in destroying. True power was in choosing not to. And humans understood that better than anyone.